how you doing? So I'm here with that how to save money video that I mentioned before, and some people actually requested, and hi, welcome. I hope this helps you. Now I think I'd be a good person to give financial advice because even before moving to Japan, I've always been financially responsible. That is to say, I've always been cheap and I've always been able to do many things and save a lot of money on a very small salary. So yeah, I think some of my tips and hints will be able to help you. Some of them you will find quite insane and you'll be like, I'm not following this girl, she's crazy. And that's fine. Pick and choose the ones that you can adjust to your own life to help you in any significant way possible to save money, because that's so important for most people who are in Japan. However, you do have people, and these people, once I mention you, I would like it if you just stop watching the video, because nothing I will say after will apply to you. These are the people who basically come to Japan so they can have this once in a lifetime opportunity where you move to a foreign country and you make friends and you go out and you see the world and you travel and YOLO, you only live once, and saving money, why? You just spend all your money. This is not the video for you. This is a video for people who can control their spending habits because they have a goal that's different from that. So bye-bye to those people. Don't bother watching. To everyone else, hi. Welcome. So I guess this video is for people who were living in their home country or another country and it just wasn't working out. They were in jobs they didn't like and they weren't making enough money, and so you've moved to Japan where you can experience amazing culture in a safe, quiet society, and you can earn a good salary. If you're an English teacher, then you realize the job it's for some people pretty easy, for some other people stressful, but for me personally, I absolutely love my jobs. I love teaching. I love being an English teacher. My kids are amazing. The working hours are great, especially if you're an ALT in a elementary school, junior high school, or high school. You work from 8:30 to 4:30, and then you go live your life. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. And the salary I'm making is way more than anything I would have ever earned in Jamaica, so I love it. Of course, the taxes kind of make it kind of rough, and the rent, but I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, so I hope that the tips I give in this video help you if your mindset is kind of similar to mine. So yeah, let me just begin. If I look down, I'm looking at my little notes. So the first one is budget. Set a budget. Set a budget. I mean, everyone knows this basic tip if you're trying to save money. Budget, budget, budget. But many people don't know how to budget. They're like, how do you budget? Where do I start? You can start first by using Microsoft Excel to pinpoint what you're going to spend your money on every single month. So I think most people should know or be familiar with Microsoft Excel. It has features where you can calculate money, do functions where what you put in will automatically adjust and be calculated. If you don't know how to use Excel, use a book. Go back to old school and just use a book and, make those calculations mechanically. But otherwise, I recommend Microsoft Excel. You put everything you're projected to spend your money on. Now for me, my company automatically deducts my taxes, my income tax, and my rent, because my apartment rental agreement is through my company, so I don't pay that directly. So every month they take out 52,300 yen, something like that, for my rent. So that money never comes to me, basically. Basically, I'm sorry, the last video I said basically a million times, so I'm gonna try to avoid saying basically from now on. Yeah, so that money comes out automatically. I don't see that money. Rent is gone. So for the rest of the video, I'm not talking about rent. Rent is gone. What I receive is, I don't want to tell you how much I earn because it's none of your business, but I will tell you, I'll give you an estimate, what is deposited into my account as net income each month. So this is after rent is deducted and this is after income tax is deducted, is between 200 and 150,000 yen. Between that. So that's how much I can reasonably save. I don't save all of that, of course. So to budget, you have to know how much you're going to spend every single month from that money that you get in your bank account from your salary, right? And so from my projections, I deduct things like, so for my budget, in my Excel, I will have food for the week, which I estimate based on previous weeks. I will have my bills, my light bill, my phone bill, my light bill, phone bill, gas bill. I'll also have my health insurance deduction, my pension. I do pay pension. I didn't get pension exemption after 3 years, so I'm paying the full amount of pension, which is ridiculous. And also something else, other expenses, right? I'll give you an estimate of what those come out to. My health insurance is 21,000 yen every month. My pension is 16,000 yen every month. My light bill fluctuates depending on the season. Right now it's winter, so it's a little high because I'm using the aircon sometimes and my electric heater. So that now is 3,000 yen. My heater, my gas bill is 6,000 yen right now because I'm bathing in hot water 2 times a day because I like to be clean. And so my phone bill, I'm on Docomo and I have a very expensive phone, so that's about, and a 20 gigabyte plan, so that's about 13,000, I don't remember, something in the teens. So in total, it's about over $50,000 each month. So I set my budget for spending at $60,000 every month. $60,000 every month, that's my budget. I don't go over the budget. I try not to go over the budget. If I go over the budget, I'm in trouble, okay? So don't go over your budget. Have some self-control. Set your budget. Don't go over it, right? And for help on how to set your budget, you have to think, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I saving money? Think, why am I saving money? If you're here and you're trying to pay off student loans, then you know that you have to send X amount of money home every week, X amount of money home every month. So your budget has to be calculated where you can save this amount, send home this amount for your student loan, and spend this amount for your bills and everything else, right? So that's how you set your budget. For me, I don't have loans, but I have a goal. As I mentioned in the last video, my goal is to save reasonably. I'm trying to save 2 million Jamaican dollars, 2 million yen for next year, March. So that's my goal. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm going to try, right? So my goal, my budget is 2 million yen, 2 million Jamaican dollars. 2 million. I have set my goal, so I know how much money I need to save every month to get there. So that's what I'm trying to work for. So that will be the motivation for me not to spend more money than that. That's the best thing you can do for your budget. Set a goal, how much money you need to save, how much money you need to send back, how much money you need to pay for bills. Set that goal and then try and reach it every single month. Now you need to have monthly budgets, you need to have quarterly budgets. Something that you have to also consider is city tax, when you'll have to pay city tax. City tax is something you pay in the second year you're here. It's for the previous year contributions to taxes, right? And that's calculated by city. So if you live in a rural area like me, it's cheaper. My city tax was like 75,000 yen last year. And they broke it down into 4 payments. So I paid every 2 months or 3 months, I had to pay like $21,000. So you have to also consider that. That's going to be a part of your budget for when you pay it. I must tell you, if you live in city areas, your city tax is going to be much higher. It's going to be between 150 to 250,000 yen. And that's just a reality. So that's for all the people who are so determined to live in Tokyo or Yokohama or Chiba or Osaka, you're going to pay way more money in taxes. So you have to keep that in mind. Where you live determines how much money you're going to be spending. All right, so that's budget. The second thing I'm going to talk about is big decisions. Big decisions you're going to make. You really have, before you make these big decisions, you have to do as much research as possible, right? One big decision is, I guess, first, moving to Japan. Picking the right job. Picking a job where you've done enough research, you've spoken to enough people about working with X company or whatever organization, and seeing what they said about it. Because if you pick the wrong company at the end of the year, you're going to want a new job. And if you're going to get a new job, you're going to have to consider moving, because a lot of these companies, when you come over with them, the rent agreement is with the company. So you'll have to move out of your apartment if you find a new job. And moving in Japan is incredibly expensive. One of my favorite YouTubers, he's moving again. I'm like, how do you do it? How do you do it? Trust me, you don't want to be moving every year. You don't. I had a close friend. She's moved 2 times now. Luckily, each time she's moved it with a roommate, so that kind of cuts the expense. But if you're moving on your own, like 3 or 4 times every year you're here, twice a year, that's insane. Do not move in Japan twice a year unless you absolutely have to, because moving costs come up to like 400,000 yen each time. You don't want to be spending that type of money if you're trying to save. So do as much research as possible to find a job that you know you can stick with for at least 2 years, so you don't have to move. 2-3 years. Talk to people. Really do research to see if this is a company you want to work with. This is a type of job you want to stay in for 1 or 2 years. Because the best thing to do is not move within the first year, especially, or 2 years of getting here. That's the best way to save money in Japan. Not moving, not going anywhere. Just don't do it. Don't move. A lot of my friends have moved, but this is after with our company. A lot of my friends from Jamaica, they come and they really put us in some country areas, some really country areas. And living there at first is hard, but you get used to it, because in your mind you're like, my goal is to do this. I'm just going to suffer through whatever experiences I'm having living in the countryside and deal with it, because I'm not moving for 2 years. I need to save. I need to build up my income. So a lot of my friends are like that, and they've moved to the city area and they're like, boy, that moving fee, the city tax fee, it's too much. But that's their cross to bear. They're always asking me, when are you moving to Chiba, or when are you moving to Yokohama? I'm like, no, baby. Me not going nowhere. Me not go nowhere. Me not left ya. No, baby. No. And that's honestly how I feel about Wakayama. As long as I'm in Japan, I'm not leaving Wakayama. I'm comfortable here, right? It's cheap living here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving. I'm not going. People, like, I'm on YouTube, but I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a J-vlogger. A lot of J-vloggers, they like to move to the city so they can do cool stuff. I can do cool stuff in Japan, in Wakayama. I can do lots of cool stuff out here. I am moving. I ain't moving. That costs way too much money. But if you have to move, if you're in a bad job situation, then you have to move. You have to find all that money to move, and it's terrible. So you have to do a lot of research before you come here, so you find the type of job situation that you know you can stick to for a while. So big decisions about moving, or like making purchases like cars, making a car purchase, or even if you're moving within the city, big decisions, you have to really do research, plan ahead, and see how much money you're going to spend, and you have to weigh the options. I'm saving for this, should I do this? And then decide what makes sense. So yeah, big decisions, you really have to do a lot of research and weigh your options. See if it makes sense. See what type of damage it will do to your savings if you do that. Alright, so another big suggestion is to get a part-time job. It's really not as easy as it sounds if you're in the country area, because I live in Wakayama, and one of my close friends here, she lived in Wakayama too, but Wakayama is a huge prefecture. I live closer to the city, which is easier to get part-time jobs there. Oh, the other thing is, my company is one of the few companies that allows you to have a part-time job, because the teachers work from 8:30 to usually 3:30 or 4:30. They're like, okay, go have a part-time job if you want it, as long as you get our approval, you get it stamped and documented on your guiding card, and it's not outside of instructor, being an English instructor or instructor visa. So I got permission to get a part-time job, and my friend, she lived in a different part of Wakayama, which is the country area, and it wasn't as easy to find part-time jobs there. But you have to hustle, you have to learn to hustle, man. The Jamaicans know how to hustle, and as long as you're hustling legally, then you'll be okay. So you can get a part-time job. There are websites you can join so you can get private tutoring, private English lessons. And because of Tokyo 20, a lot of people are trying to improve their English skills. It's like a benefit to them for work and everything. So you can get private tutoring, which is what I did in my first year before I found my part-time job. And that really helps with like weekly expenses, like groceries, or if you want to do small trips, transportation. It really helps. So try and get private tutoring and get a part-time job. If you're with a different company that doesn't allow you to have a part-time job, dog nam your supper, as we say in Jamaica. You're out of luck. I'm sorry. But if you can get a part-time job, you definitely need to do it. You definitely need to make sacrifices when you get a part-time job. But you have to remember, what is your goal? If your goal is to save money, or is your goal to have a social life? I do not have a social life because my goal is to save money. So I'm constantly working. But you know, I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm not okay. All right. But yeah, so get a part-time job. That will definitely help if you can. And also with the part-time job, so if you have a part-time job, your main salary, you will set aside things from your budget that come out of your main salary. But then what you want to also do is, with the part-time job, any extra expensive, any fun things you want to do, any trips you have to pay for, you set another budget with that and pay everything from that. And then that way, the rest of the money that you got from your main job, you don't touch it. You don't see it. You don't touch it. It's there. You just look away from it, and you're like, okay, save that. Save. The other thing. Oh, look, it says don't have a social life. And people are going to look at me crazy and be like, what do you mean don't have a social life? Don't have a social life. Don't have friends. No, have friends, but have cheap friends like you who don't go anywhere. And you can just go to a park and talk to them instead of spending money and going to bars. Having a social life in Japan is very expensive. Eating out is... Going out to restaurants to eat is expensive. Going to bars is expensive. Buying like a beer is like 400 yen, which is ridiculous. So it really doesn't make sense. And then when you have social engagements like end of year party, that adds up. End of year parties and welcome parties, those add up to like 5,000 yen, 4,000 yen. So it's a lot of money, and you really have to keep that into consideration and say, do I need friends or don't I need friends? But I would, if you're the type of person like me who's okay with isolation, okay with being by yourself, then it's not an issue. It's not an issue. I am an introvert / extrovert, mostly introvert. I'm okay with just spending weekends by myself watching Netflix and chilling with Liddy. But if you're not that type of person, you need to socialize, okay, but also be very honest with your friends and say, I really can't afford this. Let's do something reasonable or cheaper than going and spending $5,000 for dinner every single week. You really have to be honest and upfront with your friends. Or just don't have any friends. Or don't have as many friends. You can have a few friends and you should be okay like that. But not having a social life, that has really helped me to save a lot of money. I'm being honest. But yeah, so consider that. Yeah. Now let's see, what else do I have here? Learn to cook. Look at that. Learn to cook. Now, there are so many websites where you can learn to cook. There are so many places you can get recipes. I will post a few recipes. However, my recipes will not have any dishes with pork or shrimp or stuff like that, because I don't eat pork and I don't eat shrimp. But there are other places you can find resources for that. You need to learn to cook. Buying bentos every single day is stupid and expensive. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to spend so much money on food. For average groceries for the week, for me, I spend like 3,000 yen, and I can make meals for every day of the week with that amount, versus buying a bento for 300 yen twice a day, which I can't count, but I know that's more than 3,000 yen. And I remember for my company, there was this guy in the Facebook group who was like, does it make more sense to just buy bentos every day than cook? And I was like, no, dumbass, why are you buying bentos every day? Learn to cook. And we were quite shocked that somebody would even consider just buying bentos every day. People do it, but those are people who like make a lot of money. If you're an English teacher, your salary won't be that high where you can survive on bentos every day. And it's also not healthy. It's healthier to make home cooked meals. So learn to cook. Before you come to Japan, if you don't know how to cook, ask your mother to teach you how to cook, or your aunt, or your father, because fathers cook too. Ask someone to teach you how to cook. Go on YouTube and learn to cook. But you need to learn how to cook. You save so much money learning to cook. You save money on dinner, and you save money on lunch too. And you can do meal prep where you cook once a week, or you could cook every night and be fine with that. But definitely learn to cook, and I will help you. I will post lots of videos here of cooking if I can. So learn to cook was another point that I had. That has definitely saved me so much money since being here. What's another point? Shopping. Limit your shopping, your spending habits. Now, if you've noticed, a lot of my wardrobe has been the same for the past 2 years or 3 years. I do not spend a lot of money on clothing. Every season I might buy like 5 new outfits, 5 new pieces to add to my wardrobe. Or if something I has tears or there is injured, can clothes be injured? Yeah, whatever. Then I will buy a new item. But I spend less than each season, because you have to change clothes per season. I spend less than maybe less than $15,000 on clothes. Other people spend like $15,000 a week on clothes, and if you have that money, you do you. But try and save money on clothes, especially because people come here and they want to be cute. They're going out. See, that's another benefit of not having a social life. If you don't go out, you don't have to look cute, so you don't have to buy clothes. You see me? So limit how much money you spend on clothes, shoes, things you don't need, basically. Look at when you're shopping online, or when you're going to purchase something you don't need. Look at it and go, do I need this? No, I don't. Save your money. With every purchase you're going to make, you really have to sit down and say, Lydia, do you need this? Do you really need this? Do you need this, Lydia? If the answer is no, do not buy it. If the answer is yes, then go ahead and buy it. But there have been many times where I'm on Amazon and I'm like, I really want this Sailor Moon plushie. And then I look at myself and say, do you need it, Lydia? Can you get it somewhere cheaper? And I go, oh yeah, I can. I definitely can. And so I decide not to buy it. And trust me, that will save you a lot of money in the long run. So limit how much you spend on frivolous shopping. Just don't have a credit card. I don't have a credit card. That's why I haven't spent as much money as I maybe would have in the past. Don't get a credit card. The banks won't give you one anyway, so. Next tip, next hint. Transportation. Yes, transportation. Very important. Now, if you're living in the countryside, you won't have subways or trains that run regularly. So this is easy for you. You're just going to buy a bicycle. You're going to ride a bicycle everywhere. You'll get lots of exercise and you'll lose weight, some of you. And, it'll be great for you. So ride a bicycle, walk everywhere. Save money on transportation. There is a beach I go to every single summer. It is 35 minutes away by bicycle. I could take the bus and be lazy, especially in the summertime when it's very hot, but I decide to use my bicycle and save money. So instead of spending 240 yen, which isn't much, but instead of spending that 2 ways, I just ride my bicycle and get there for free. And you really have to keep that into consideration. How can I get somewhere for free? And a bicycle, the initial cost of a bicycle is somewhere between 13,000 yen to maybe like 15,000 yen for a mama cherry, one of those little cute ones. So the initial cost is that, but you save so much money over time. I remember once I wanted to go to Minato Matsuri, which would have cost me about $2,000, not 2,000, 1,000 something yen if I took the train or bus. But I rode my bicycle like 1 hour there in the night. So you save money. Save money as best you can with transportation. And if you can, when you want to travel around Japan, there's so many different options. You can fly the cheap airlines like Peach or Vanilla, but I've never, or Jetstar. You can fly with those, or you can take the night bus, which is cheaper than the Shinkansen. So try and avoid traveling by Shinkansen as best you can, because a Shinkansen ticket is so expensive. And then there's also the JR ticket for people who live here, like the discount ticket. There's a YouTuber who did a really nice video about that. I'll probably link it below. But I think those are offered twice a year. So you can buy that and then travel by JR lines in your free time. He made a good video about it. I'm sorry I don't remember his name right now, but I'll put that video link. So how to save money if you're living here traveling. So use night buses, cheap airlines like Peach and JR lines. Try and avoid the Shinkansen, and you can get around quite easily like that. But for general everyday use, ride your bicycle or walk. Save your money. Save your money. Oh, alright. So another reminder from my company's Facebook group was people when they're leaving Japan and they're doing sayonara sales, you see some of the things they buy and how much they bought it for, and you're like, oh, why did you spend so much money, boo? Why did you do that? So I remember one guy, he bought a cooking oven for like, he was trying to resell it for 8,000 yen. I was like, why did you buy it for that much money to begin with? And a bicycle, he bought a bicycle for like 35,000 yen. And I was like, when you initially get here, when you're buying things, think about long term. I mean, I know it's hard for some people to think, am I going to stay in Japan for 1 year or 2 years? I know my plan was only to be here for 1 year. And I was like, okay, let me stay for another year. Okay, let me spend my whole life here apparently. So I know it's difficult to look ahead and think, what should I buy for now? So one tip is, as you're here, don't buy things thinking you're going to be here forever. So buy the necessities and look for deals. Don't buy the most expensive thing because you have the money now up front. Because when you do leave, you're going to have to sell those things and get rid of them, and you're expecting to get back some of the money. So yeah, be careful what you're spending. Look for deals. Don't buy the most expensive thing. For example, I guess I can like bring this over here. Come here, darling. Come here, darling. Come here, darling. This is my toaster oven. Ta-da! Now that's my toaster oven, right? And other people bought like the electric oven, which is a proper oven that can cook and bake. My toaster oven can do all of that, and I spent half as much as what they spent on the legit ovens, the legit cooking ovens. And the legit cooking ovens are much bigger, and you live in a smaller space. So you have to look at the things you should buy. So my recommendation for your first year, if you're here, things that I would have bought: toaster oven, definitely, because you can cook in it. As you can see, I cooked salmon in it, I cooked chicken in it all the time. Maybe these things will kill me, maybe doing that will kill me in the long run, I don't know, but for now it works out. And I spent maybe, I think 4,000 yen on that compared to like 10,000 yen or 8,000 yen. So save money like that. Another important buy was my vacuum cleaner. That's a necessity with my carpet. I saw other vacuum cleaners at the time for 5,000 yen or 6,000 yen. I was like, oh look, there's one for 2,000 yen. And that vacuum cleaner has lasted for the past 3 years. I pray to God it doesn't I don't jinx it and it still lasts me for that long. Look at different prices. Get the cheaper option if you need to, because you get, honestly, most people don't stay here past maybe 3 years. So you don't have to buy the most expensive things. To this day, I don't understand why that dude spent $35,000 on a bicycle. I guess he wanted a mountain bicycle. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, if you have it, spend it. If you don't have it, budget. You can get around with a mama cherry quite fine. I've traveled far, far distances with a mama cherry, and it was okay. Yeah, so when you initially come and you're buying things for your home, consider what you really, 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 really need. Because you might decide to leave after 1 year, and then you're like, I didn't need this, and I spent so much money on that. I didn't need this. And yeah, and that's a waste of money. Basically, don't waste your money on things you absolutely don't need. Okay. This tip is for when you're traveling, because once you're living in Japan, you're going to want to explore Japan. You're going to want to explore Japan or go to neighboring countries. I haven't done that yet. When I travel internationally, I keep going home, which is expensive, by the way. So like, oh, that's a good point, by the way. Getting homesick and wanting to go home every single season. A lot of people, they go home twice a year, and I'm like, you're going home for Christmas and summer vacation? Well, look at you. Look at you. The first year I was here, I did not get to go home for a year and like 4 months, because I arrived in March and I didn't get to go home until August the next year. August the next year, because it's too expensive. A ticket home to Jamaica costs, and a comfortable ticket home to Jamaica costs during the summer season costs 170,000 yen. And that's for reals. That's for reals. That's to go home to Jamaica. And so you can't afford that. You can't afford to do that in the summer and in the winter. Yeah, I know some people get homesick, especially around the Christmas time, but that's the most expensive time to travel. So my recommendation is not to go home for Christmas. I don't celebrate Christmas, so I can say that. I could just be like, Doug, why do you guys need to go home for Christmas? But a lot of people do go. They love Christmas. They want to be with their family, but you have to understand, if your goal is to save money, that's impractical, because going home is way more expensive. It's for a shorter time. During Christmas time, our break is only for like 2 weeks, so it's short, and most of that is traveling if you're going far distances. Some people, they only get a week off. I mean, you can't be spending over $150,000 just to go home for a week. I'm sorry, it's impractical to me. When I go home in the summer, I go home for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Last year it was shorter because I had to come back for my part-time job, but if I'm spending that amount of money, I'm gonna get my money's worth. But yeah, a different option people do is, instead of going home, they go and travel to places closer to Japan. So like Korea, the Philippines, Hong Kong. So they do a bit of traveling, and that kind of distracts you from being homesick and not at home for Christmas. So find cheaper travel options when you want to explore Japan, or do international travel. If you're traveling around Japan, a recommendation is to stay at hostels instead of hotels. In my first year here, that's what I did, because I didn't have a part-time job. I was mostly saving based on my income and like private tutoring I did. So I stayed at hostels, and I don't really like to share spaces with other people. So it was kind of uncomfortable. I didn't like it. So, but other people are fine with hostels. I just don't like people. I really don't. So that was a kind of annoying for me, but my goal was to save money, so I dealt with it, and it wasn't too bad. Hostels in Japan are actually quite clean, which I like, and the food, the accommodations are good. So stay in hostels, do cheap travel, like I mentioned, do cheap traveling by bus or transportation, And try not to go to tourist traps, like places that aren't really authentic Japanese things, but they're marketed as cool things to do in Japan. Like Maid Cafe. When the first time I went to Tokyo, I went to a Maid Cafe and I knew it was a tourist trap. But I went there. It was a lot of money. But it was not, it was a nice experience. But for other people, they were like, oh, why did I spend like so much money on this crap? So like try and avoid tourist traps. Try and avoid places that you always see in Visit Japan commercials, because they're gonna cost, like the Robot Cafe. My friends were like, let's go to the Robot Cafe in Tokyo. I'm like, do you have Robot Cafe money? Because I don't. I really don't. Things, attractions that cost a lot of money. Skytree, Tokyo Skytree is a tourist trap, because that costs so much money to go in. That is so overpriced. I mean, it's better to just go look at it, take a picture with it, and not go up. Trust me. You get the same view from the Tokyo Metropolitan building, and it's free. Free view, expensive view. Always go for the cheaper option. That, you know, it makes sense. So, like, I don't want to say tourist trap, but any attraction that costs a lot of money that you can find an alternative to. And there are lots of videos about alternative travel attractions in Japan. Go to those. Go to the free attractions that are usually more authentic anyways. Yeah. So that's traveling internationally. Don't go home for Christmas. And traveling around Japan. Yeah. So I think that's most of the things I had to cover. It's all about self-control really, and saving money and setting a budget and sticking to your budget. And like even little things like in the winter, instead of using your aircon, keep yourself warm with a blanket. So you'll see the, when you breathe out, you'll see the condensation because you're freezing cold, but you're saving money on electricity if you're keeping yourself warm instead of trying to keep the entire room warm. In the summer now, you're just going to have to spend that money and budget for your aircon, because in the summer in Japan, you will die if you do not turn on their air condition. I'm serious. I'm so serious. It's horrible. But yeah, I think that's it for the video. I really do. Maybe if I think of any other tips, I'll make a part 2, but I think this video is long enough and you get the basic idea. Have some self-control, don't have a social life, stop spending money you don't need to, and set a budget. Plan out what you want to save for, and that really should help. And if you have any other questions, I'm here to answer them. Okay? So that's it for now. Till next time. Bye!